Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be refactoring a project that we had already done before called the Grater Image Gallery. We're going to be rebuilding it using Create React App and Tailwind CSS. So this is the project that I'm talking about. If you remember, we built it using vanilla HTML and Sass. So this time we're going to be implementing the React router and a few other things such as the React icons for these icons at the bottom. Okay, so to get started, we're going to need a repository. So the repository we're going to need is this right here, which is the repository for this website. So it's called Grater Image Gallery. I'm going to leave a link in the description where we can do this. Now I have already cloned this in my desktop. So if you need to do that, you can just go to right on this button. You can copy this to the clipboard, and then you can open your console like that. Let me zoom in, and then you can CD to whichever place you want to clone the folder into. For my preference is the desktop, and then just say git clone and then paste that in. So once you run this command, it's going to clone this repository for you. And the reason why you need this repository is because we need the logos and the images that we have in this project. So I can close this down, and if you need the complete repository, I actually already did this yesterday in React. So if you need the complete repository, I'm also going to leave a link in the description. It's the same as this, really, only with React at the end. Okay, so to get started, you need to run npx create react app. So if I go to my console, cd back into my desktop, I can say npx create react-app and just call it Grater-React. Now I have already done this, and the reason why I didn't want to do this while recording is because this takes quite a bit of a while to run. So I just wanted to speed things up a bit. So once you run this, it's going to create your app, your React app into your desktop or whichever path that you've placed, and then you'll be able to continue. So once you do that, you can say cd into that folder that you've created. So it's called Grater React like that, and then I can open Visual Studio Code in that folder. As you can see, I was doing a bit of setup, but then in the middle of it I decided to just show it what I was doing. So what I was doing was that if you go to the Tailwind website right here, Tailwind CSS, let me go to the original/installation like that. So this is the installation page for Tailwind CSS, and because we're dealing with Create React App, I'm just going to click here for the Create React App, and then this is what we have done: npx create react app, and then cd into that app, and just open Visual Studio Code to make it easier. And then to install Tailwind via npm, you can just copy all of this. You can copy all of this, copy that, and then just paste it into your integrated terminal, and then run it, which will install Tailwind CSS. You can see you install this. You'll install the auto prefixer and post CSS, which are all of these that are indicated there, as well as the Tailwind CSS right there. So I was running this, and I've already run this, so you can copy that once again. And then once you're done with this, once you're done with this, you can say just do that. Once you're done that, you can copy that in there. You can copy that in there and say npm install create react app. This is the it's called the compatibility override, and the reason why we need this is because we don't want the original React scripts to run here. So as you can see, there's a reason why you don't see them, but they might be different for you, where you have the React script start or React script build, something like that. So I'm going to show you why we are removing the default ones, and then we're replacing them with this one. It's because actually of this Create React App compatibility override. So once you run this and you install it, then you can go ahead to the bottom right here, and once it's installed, as you can see, it's explained. Once it's installed, update your scripts in your package.json file to use Kraken instead of React scripts for all scripts except the eject. So you remove these three, as you can see, and then you just grab these, just copy those, and then just paste them into your scripts like that. So you replace the default React scripts, and you replace them with these ones right here, except don't remove the eject, except the eject. So that's where I had reached, and I think we're just going to continue from there. So it says next, create a cracker.config.js at the root of your project and add the Tailwind CSS and auto prefixer as post CSS plugins. So I'm just going to grab this, just grab all of that, copy that, and then make sure that you're in the root of your folder, of your workspace, in the root, and then just create a new file and call it cracker.config.js like that, and then just paste that in what we have copied. So I'm going to save that like that, and then next, create a configuration file. So npx tailwind css init, so just copy that, and I should have copied everything. Let me remove that, and it says npx tailwind css init. So what this will do is it will create a tailwind config.js file for us. So let me just run it like that. It creates a tailwind.config.js file, as you can see, and it even says so. So in this file there are a few things that we're going to do. Actually, not a few things, we're only going to replace this. So we're going to replace that. As you can see, this is the file that is generated, but we need to replace this purge with this. So I'm just going to grab this, copy this, and then just paste it there. So what this does is that it will look for any unused styles in this file that in our workspace, and then it will remove them so that our page loads faster. So I'm going to save that like that, and we need to include Tailwind in our CSS. So I'm going to grab this. These are the Tailwind styles that are going to be the default styles really. And then inside my source folder I have an index CSS folder that is generated by create React App. So I'm just going to go inside that folder, and then at the top above body, I'm just going to include those like that. Now don't worry about these warnings. These are Tailwind warnings. That they are CSS warnings because it doesn't recognize the Tailwind rule. So don't worry about that. And then I'm just going to remove this and remove this and then remove this. So what this does is that it will override some of the default styles that come with CSS, such as the button styles and the headings and whatnot. You'll see those in a moment. Okay, so once we do that, we make sure that it's imported in our index CSS, which it does by default, as you can see, and we're finished. So we can run npm start or npm run start to get started with our development. So I can just, okay, before I close this console, I want to install two more things. I want to install, so npm install, I want to install react-router-dom, which will handle our routing. And then I also want to install React icons, so React icons like that. And then if you read the docs for React icons, they recommend installing it with the -- save flag like that. So I'm just going to run this, let that run in the background. I can close this down, and you'll notice that in our package.json we now have all our dependencies installed, as you can see. So once we install React icons, it should appear somewhere here in the middle, and React router DOM should appear below this. Okay, so I can save this file. Alright, okay, save that file, and then I can begin some cleanup. So I'm going to go into my source folder. I'm going to remove the app CSS, app test.js, the logo, report web vitals, and the setup tests. I'm just going to delete all of these like that. And then in my public folder, I'm going to remove these two logos, the manifest.json and the robots.txt. Delete those. And then in my index HTML, I'm going to grab this, remove the comments, remove everything up to this manifest.json like that, and remove these as well like that. Okay, so we need to grab the folder that we cloned, right? So we need to go into the folder that we cloned, and if you remember, we cloned it right here. So this folder, so I'm just going to remove this, and I'm going to say cd into Grater Image Gallery, which is the name of the folder, and just open Visual Studio Code in that folder. Now the reason why I want to open this folder right there is because, let me place this to the side, oops, place it to the side like that, I want to grab a few things from here just to begin the initial setup. So I'm going to go into my dist and I'm going to grab my images folder, which contains all of these. So I'm going to copy this folder, copy it like that, and inside my public folder I'm just going to paste it like that. The reason why is because I want my images folder to be served from the public folder. Okay, so let's see what else do we need. We need I think that's it really. I think that's it. I can close that down and then I can place this full screen. Let me change this description and I can say Grater Image Gallery like that. And then for the title, just say Grater Image Gallery and then React like that. So I can save this. Let me save that. And then let me see what else we need to do. We need to go inside the index.js and remove this because we have deleted it, and remove this as well. Save that. And then in app.js we're going to remove this too because we've deleted it, and I'm just going to say import React from React like that, and then remove this and just return a div saying Grater Image Gallery. Okay, so I'm just going to save this file and then I'm going to start my server and it should run. I hope so. Let me just confirm that my React Router DOM is installed and React icons as well. Okay, so I'm just going to open my integrated terminal like that, and I'm going to say npm start, which should start our development server. Okay, so once our server starts, as you can see, it displays Grater Image Gallery, just as we would expect from this. And you can wait a minute. Let me just close a few windows down. Let me close this and this. Okay, and then I can close these three as well. We don't need this anymore. Okay, so let's start with our setup. Inside my source folder, I'm going to create a new folder called components, and then I'm going to create another folder called pages. The reason why I have these pages is because inside these pages I want to create a login.js file, which will be our login component, and then I'm going to create a signup.js file as well. And inside both of these I'm just going to say RAFCE, and then I'm just going to say login component like that, and then inside the sign up I'm going to say RAFCE once again and just say sign up component like that. Now the reason why I can do RAFCE like that is because of an extension called ES7 React Redux, this one right there, ES7 React Redux GraphQL React Native Snippets. So once you install it, then you can do the shorthand properties that you can go through all of these, that you can go through at your own time. Okay, so I'm just going to close that up like that, and then I'm going to say, let me just close these two files and close this and the index CSS and the index.js. So before we get started, we need to set up our routing. So I'm going to say import browser router, import the route, and import the, we don't need the link here, but we need the switch from React Router DOM, which we have installed. And then I'm just going to say remove this and return a fragment. So inside this fragment we're going to return a few things, some of them components that we have not yet created, such as the header. So I'm just going to place a comment and just say header, so the header should be there. And then I'm going to create my route, and the first route for this, the path will be going to the home page, so slash, and I want it to only go to the home page when the / is navigated to, so that it doesn't display other pages. So I'm going to add another prop called exact like that. And then for this route I'm just going to add a component that we're going to create called showcase like that. This is just for the placeholder currently, and then I'm going to create another route like that, and the path for this should go to the /login, and then we want to just display our login component which we have created right there. And then I'm going to create another row. Let me just copy this. The other row, this one will go to the sign up, so sign dash up like that, and we just want to display our sign up component. Now if we try and save this, it will display an error because we don't have the showcase, and we have the login, the sign up, but we haven't we haven't imported them. So I'm just going to import right there. I'm going to say import login from, it's coming from pages/login like that. And then let me just copy this and then grab both of these and just say sign up like that. And then one thing I forgot to do is that we need to wrap everything inside this browser router. Now sometimes you may see this imported as router like that, so that you can use the alias of router instead of browser router, but it's basically all preference. So inside these two empty quotes right there, I'm just going to say browser router like that. And the reason why this has changed at the bottom as well is because of an extension called auto rename tag, where if you change the beginning or the end tag, it will also change automatically, as you can see like that. So I'm going to save that, and I hope that it works. So let me go back to my navigation, and of course we don't have any paths to navigate to really, but if I go to my address bar and say the /login like that, you see we should get login component. And if I go to /sign up, I should see sign up component. And then if I go back to the /, I should go back to the home page, which currently has nothing like that. So let's begin to populate our pages. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create a folder inside my components, a file really called showcase.js like that, and I'm going to say RAFCE once again. And remember, we're going to be using Tailwind CSS, so I want to return a section here. And then I'm going to say inside this section I want a div with a class of overlay. The reason why I have this class of overlay is because I want to add a background image, and I should also give this a class name of let me call this showcase. It's easy to remember. And then inside here I just want to return an h1 saying Grater Image Gallery like that, and then a paragraph saying home of the internet's image gallery like that. And then at the bottom of this I want to place a button, but I don't want to technically place a button, I want to place a link instead. So I'm going to import link, a component that comes from a React Router DOM, and as you can see it gives me the option to auto import it. So once I click this, then you see it auto imports it from React Router DOM like that. And this has a prop that is called to. So in this to is where you specify the page that you want to navigate to, and I want this to go to the login page, and then not the login really, but the sign up page, sign-up like that, which is the route that we created in our app.js, as you can see. And then for this link, the text would just say what do we say, get started like that. So if I save this and import it in my app.js, so I just want to import this at the top, so I'm going to say import showcase like that, and then I can now uncomment this so that this will always show in my home page when the path is the / like that. And we should see something. It's not in pages showcase, it's in components, sorry about that, components showcase like that. We should see this, as you can see. Now this is a link, remember, so if I click this link, then you see it takes me to the sign up page, and if I go back, it takes me back to the home page. So we need to begin to style this a bit, and I think I'm going to begin styling with my sign up page and the login page because they are much easier. So let me just actually I don't need to close anything, but I need to create a new folder inside my source folder, and inside this source folder I'm going to create a folder called assets like that, and this assets folder is going to contain a few images, and the first image that I want to grab is the cassette, this one. Yes, this one right there. I'm just going to copy this and I'm going to paste it inside my assets folder. Paste it like that, and then I'm going to grab the logo 192 because this is the logo that we're going to have in our header, and I'm just going to copy this and paste it as well, like that. Now you might wonder why I don't just have these images inside my source folder. The reason is because most of these images we're going to be target them using a data array, and I don't want them to be targeted in the source folder, otherwise they won't display. And the reason why I have this assets folder inside here is because these images are ones that we're going to import directly into our components, and we can't technically import images from the public folder because they lie outside the scope of the source folder. So let's see, what do I want to do? Inside my pages, I want to go to my login, like that. Now the login and sign up pages will technically have the same styles. So let me place this to the side, and I can paste this like that so that I can style them both at once, as in I can style and see what's being styled right there. And then for this, I want a background image on this, right? I want a background image, so I will need to go inside my index CSS. Before I do that, let me remember to go into my login and create a section right there. Create a section like that. Actually, you know what, let me return first a fragment like that, and then create a section with a class name of login like that. And then I'm going to say I want to return what do I want to return? I want to return a form with no action, like that. And then for the form, this is the login page, so I need the input with the type of email, like that, with a name of email. Let me close the sidebar, and an ID of email, and a placeholder saying enter your email address. And then I'm just going to set it to required, and then I'm going to have another input with the type of submit, which will be the submit button, and the value will be log in, like that. And then below this, I'm going to have a small tag, and the small tag will say this is the login, so I'm going to say don't have an account. Then I'm going to place another link component which will link to my sign up page. So the to prop for this, the to prop will go to the /sign-up, like that, and I'm going to say sign up, like that. And of course we need to import this before application breaks, so import link from React Rotterdam, like that. So let me save that. Let's see what we have, and if I navigate to /login, we should have this. As you can see, now we have our form. Okay, so I want to go into my index CSS and target the login class that we've just created, login, and I want to add the background of URL, which is the image that we have taken from the public folder. And where is it? It's inside assets, like that, and it's called cassette.jpg, and I want to set it to no repeat, and center and cover, like that. And then I want to set this height to 100 viewport height, so that it takes up the entire width of the web page, the entire height of the web page, sorry, like that. And let me reload it. For some reason, once I add custom style, it takes a while to reload. I actually don't know why. Okay, so once we do that, then I want to go inside. Actually, I should have put this inside a class of overlay. So let me say div with a class of overlay, like that, so that I can target this overlay class and add a height on it. So I can go back into my index CSS and say in the login class, for the overlay class, I just want to add a height of 100 viewport heights, and that's all we are going to do there. So we can begin to style this using Tailwind CSS. Let me reload it so that it shows something. So I'm just going to say I want this to display flex, and I want the flex direction to be column, so flex col, and then I want to align item center, so the class for that is items dash center, and then justify center like that, which will bring everything to the center. So let me save that, as you can see. And then for the form, actually this won't work right there. Will this work right there? It doesn't work. So I want the class name for the form, so class name equals to flex and flex call, which will now display them like that. Okay, so on the input, I want to add a margin so that this separate out. So below this, I'm just going to say class name of margin on the bottom, so margin MB, I'm going to say margin of 3, separate out like that. And I'm just going to copy this and paste it inside this like that, which will move that down. And then on the form, I want to add a background color, so BG, let me say BG BG blue, let's say about 300. Oh, I've just realized something. My extension isn't working. My Tailwind extension isn't working. Why isn't this working? The Tailwind CSS IntelliSense, it's not working. It should be giving me a drop down list like this. So let me just uninstall it. Let me uninstall it, and then I think it should reload, and then it should now begin to give me suggestions, but technically it's still not, as you can see, because if it was working, then it would display the shade of blue that we have right there. So something, okay, there you go, as you can see, there you go. So I can close this down. So now this means it's working, so that if I were to go back like this and say BG, you see it gives me a drop down list. If it doesn't give you the drop down list, then you can say control and space, and it will load the list for you, as you can see. So I want the BG of blue with a shade of, let's say 300, just like that. That's too light, let me say 400. Okay, and then I want to add a padding all around on the form, so that these push inwards, so padding all around of, let's say 5, like that. And then I want it to have rounded border, so I'm just going to say rounded like that, as you can see. And then I want it to span about 75% of the screen, so I'm going to say width to be 9/12, which is 75%, like that. Okay, looking very nice, looking very nice. And then I want this to display to the center, right? So I'm going to go inside a small element, and I'm going to say class name of, first I want to display block because it's not a block element, and then I'm going to say text center, which will now move it to the center like that. And then I want to style this link so that it's more visible, so there, right there, I'm going to say class name, give this a class name of BG red dash 500, and then let me give it a padding on the top of 1 and padding on the x-axis of, let's say 4. Let's see how that looks, like that. And then give it a rounded border once again, so rounded. And then change the text to white, so text white, like that, looking very nice. And then for the hover effect, I just want it to be darker, so in Tailwind you can add a hover effect just by saying hover and then placing a colon and then saying BG red dash 800. And then because I don't want it to pop in like this, as you can see, I'm just going to add another class saying transition all, like that, which will transition it just a bit, as you can see. So it's looking very nice, looking very nice. And then let me style this button just a bit more. So this input to the class of, with the value of login, I'm going to say let me reduce the text, so text extra small, like that. Oops, that's too small. Text small, like that. Let me add a padding on the top, so py of, or on the top and bottom really, so py of 2. Let's see that. And then let me add a rounded class on it, and then let me add a background color, so BG of, let's say red dash 500. And then let me change the text to white, like that. And then I want to add some spacing on it, on the text some letter spacing, and you can do that by saying tracking dash wide, like that. No, let me say widest so it is much more visible, like that. And then just copy. I'm just going to copy all of this up to there and just paste the same on this input of the type of email, and then I'm going to say I don't want this background. I want the background to remain as it is, and let's save that. Let's see how that looks. I want to add some padding on the x-axis so this moves inwards just a bit, so I'm going to say padding on the x of, let's say, 5, so it moves inwards. And then I'm going to change this text, because technically if you were to type inside here you won't see any text because the text is white. So I'm going to change this to text red dash 500, which is the same shade as this color right there. And then how do you target the placeholder? Let me see, placeholder. So placeholder, you just do, I want to change the color to the same shade of red, so I'm going to say placeholder dash red dash 500, like that, as you can see. And then just make it a little bit more bold. Oops, where's this class? I can't see this. Just to make it a little bit more bold, I'm going to say font semi bold, like that, as you can see, looking very nice. And then let me just also change this text to white on the small tag, so I'm going to say text dash white, like that. Okay, I think that looks much better. And I forgot my password. How do I forget my password? I need to add another input right there and say input type of password, like that, with the name of password and an ID of password, like that. Set that to required and set a placeholder saying enter your password, like that. I should have placed this before the required, so let me just do that. Paste that in right there, and we should have our password right there. And then let me add a class name on this, class name of margin bottom of 3, as we did for both inputs, like that. And then let me add actually the same styles as this, really. So let me just copy all of this and then just paste it right there. Let's see how that looks. Looking very nice. Okay, so there we have it. So we have our email and the password and the login, as well as the sign up. So this should take us to our sign up page, right? So if I click this, you see sign up component. So the sign up component will technically have the same styles as our login. So I'm just going to grab everything in. Ooh, what's this? Oh, it's because of this. Let me remove this, like that. But it doesn't have a space right there now. So in order to add a space, let me add an HTML, and I'm going to say NBSP. That should be it, right? Yeah, there you go. So I'm just going to copy everything starting from this fragment to the top right there. I'm going to copy that, and then in my sign up component, I'm just going to paste it right there. So paste it in, and if I now navigate to my sign up, oops, link is not defined. Let me do that. So import link from React Rotterdam, like that. So if I go to my sign up component, so on my sign up page, it should technically look the same as this, as you can see. So we're going to change that up a bit, and I'm going to say for my input, I want to add another input with the type of text. The name will be username, and the ID will be username as well. Set the placeholder to enter your username, and then set that to required, like that. And it should appear, as you can see. And it actually password generates a password for us, but we don't need it. Okay, we need this is the username, the email, this is the password one. So we did another password too, which will be for confirming password. So another input with the type of password, like that. Name will be password 2, so that it doesn't conflict with this. and then the ID will be password 2. So let me just copy that, paste that there, and set the placeholder to confirm your password. Confirm your password like that, and set the required attribute once again. So we should have that. And then for this password, I'm just going to copy the cells that I have here on this password. So copy that, say class name equals to that, paste it in. We should move it down like that. And then for the username, I'm just going to copy the same steps that I had for my email. Let me just copy all of this up to there and paste it there. Let's see how that looks. And look at that. What's this? Username. This is the username, this is the email, password, and password 2. What's this? This can't be the username. This is the enter your email address. So what's this? Enter your username. Okay, looking very nice, looking very nice. And there we have it. So we have both our login pages and our sign up pages. One thing that I forgot to do is actually change this text and the button text as well. So for this input, where is this input? This input should say sign up, and then this should say already have an account. So let me just change this and say already have an account, and then link this to my login page, and then change this to log in like that. As you can see, it changes, and if I click this, it goes to my login page, and don't save my password, and sign up page. Looking very nice, as you can see. So now we need to create our header so that we can actually navigate between the home login page and our sign up page. So I'm going to create another component inside my components folder. Let me close these pages because we're actually done with the login and sign up pages, except for bigger weights. Yep. So I'm going to say, actually let me just fix that so that I don't forget. So in my login page, I'm going to say for the form where I place the input, I'm going to say for large screens, as you can see, this is a minimum width of what's it called, about 1024 pixels, I think so. I want the width to be let me see how much is it. Let me say width 40. Let's see how this looks. Oh, this is the login page. No, width 40 is too small. Let me say, I've forgotten this class. I want a 75% width. How much is 75? Width of 6 out of 12. This is 50%. Okay, 50% looks nice. As you can see, this is for large screens, and if I go back to my small screen, it still takes up 75%. So I'm just going to copy this, and then in my sign up component, like that's my sign up page, I'm just going to paste it inside this form right there, and it should deal with that. As you can see, looking very nice. Okay, so I can now close this down officially, and then I'm going to go into my components, and I'm going to create a new file called header.js like that, and then I'm going to say RAFCE, and then because I need my logo to appear, so I'm going to import the logo, which is why I have this assets folder which also has this logo. So I'm going to say import logo from, it's coming from my assets folder, and it's called logo, what's it called, logo underscore 192.png like that. And then I'm going to return a header, and inside this header I'm going to have a div, and inside this div I'm going to have my image, which will be coming from the logo that I've just imported, and I'm going to say Grater logo like that. But technically I want this to be inside a link, so that once I click it I can go back to my home page. So I'm just going to grab this and place a link, which I'm going to auto import like that. As you can see, it auto imports it. So link, this should link to my home page, which just goes to / like that, and then just paste it in like that, and it should appear, but it doesn't because we haven't imported our header.js file into our app.js. Okay, so below this I want to have a navbar with ULs and LIs, and then I want to have my link component, wait a minute, how many LIs is the login and sign up page? So 2 of them, like that. And then I want to have my link component like that. So this first one, this first one will link to my login page like that, and it's just going to say login. And this second one should link to my sign up page, so sign dash up, and I'm going to say for the text just sign up like that. So let me import my header like that. It's coming from my components, it's called header, and I want this header to appear on all pages. That's why I placed it above all the rows that I've created. So I'm just going to remove this comment, and I should say header like that. So once I save this, it should appear at the top. As you can see, we're going to style it up a bit. So in my header.js, I'm going to go into my header element, and I'm going to give this a class name of, let's say, flex, so that it displays as flex, and then items center, and then justify between, so they go end to end like that. And then I want to target this image, give this image a class name and reduce it, so it gives class name of, let's say, width of 40. Let's see how much that reduces it. No, too big. Let's say width 20. Still too big. Let's say, how much is 10? Nope, too small. Too small. Let's say 16. I think that would be fine. That would be fine. Let me give this header a background color, so I'm going to say BG of yellow, and let's say a shade of 400. How's that look? Okay, looking nice. And then I want this to space out a bit, so I'm going to give them a padding. So py padding on the top of 2 and padding on the x-axis of 4 like that, so they space out from this and this. And then I want this to display as flex as well, so inside this UL I'm going to say class name of flex like that. And then inside this first link I want to add a margin to it so that it separates out from this. So I'm going to say class name of margin on the right of 3. Wait a minute, not 3 but 4, so that it rhymes with this. Oh, you know what, actually that's fine. That's just fine, really. Okay, and as you can see, if I click the login, it takes me to my login page. Sign up takes me to my sign up page, and if I click this, it goes back to my home page, which we haven't styled. But one thing you'll notice is that we now have scrolling, so I don't want this scrolling to be there. So we can fix that by going to my index CSS, and I'm going to say how much height, how much padding do I have on this. Let me inspect this. Let me inspect this on the header. So I have a padding of 8 pixels on the top and bottom, right? So that's 16 pixels on the top and bottom, and this image takes up 64 pixels. Is it really? So 64 plus 16, that's about 80 pixels. Okay, so because I don't want any scrolling to be here, I'm going to go here and I'm going to use a CSS function called calculate like that, and I want to calculate 100 viewport heights and then take away the height that the header takes up, which is, we have calculated to 80 pixels. And then I'm just going to grab this and just paste it on the bottom right there. So once I save that, it should remove this scroll bar, because now it will take up 100 viewport heights. Let's hope so. If it can reload faster, please. Let's see that, and you can see that. So it takes up 100 viewport heights, and it doesn't introduce any scroll bars, as well as for the sign up page like that. And if I were to even reduce it, you can see it still takes up 100 viewport heights. That's the goodness of this function. So let me go back to my home page, because now we are all done with the login and the sign up pages, so we can begin to style this. Okay, so for my showcase, you remember I added a class of showcase on the section and a div class of overlay. That's because I want to add another image that I can display, and that image will be coming from my images folder. I'm going to paste it inside my assets folder, and I'm going to use this one. Yep, the old Instagram logo. I'm going to copy this, and then I'm going to paste it inside my assets folder. So paste that in, and then I can close this down. And then inside my index CSS, let me just place a comment here and say this is the login. Okay, so let's continue. We are going to create our showcase. So showcase like that, and we target our showcase class that we have in our showcase.js. And let me confirm that I actually imported this image, the old Instagram logo like that. And then in my index CSS, I'm going to say, let me have a background of URL, set that to my assets folder, and then this, and then just say no repeat on the image, and then center it and cover, and then let me set a height of 500 pixels like that. And then for the overlay class inside the showcase, it's not going to be the same as this. For this overlay class, I don't want to calculate a height, but I just want to set an explicit height of 500 pixels. So overlay like that, I want to set the height to 500 pixels, and then I want the background color to be a transparent black, so RGBA like that, and then 0.5. That should be enough. Let me say 0.4. That should be enough. So let me save that and let's reload this and hope that it works. Let's see that if it can reload faster. Okay, there you go. Now I want to, because I already have a height set here, a height of 500 pixels set here. Actually, let me move this up. Now because I already have this height, then I want to display this overlay as flex. Let me close this header. I want to display this as flex so that this can be aligned to the middle. So I'm going to say flex, and then items center, and then justify center like that. We should move it to the center like that, and then let me just say flex column like that, which will align them in column form. And then for the h1, I want to give this a class name, a class name of, let's say, text to Excel, so that it's bigger. And then actually on this div, let me just say text white, so that it changes the text for everything instead of declaring them for each of them like that. This is too small. Let me say 3XL, and then let me say font bold, and let's see that. Nope, let me say semi-bold like that, and then let me change this to 6XL. Nope, 5XL like that. That's much better. And then I'm going to say, let me text center this, text center, so that on smaller screens it doesn't go, this doesn't align to the left, but instead it aligns to the center. And then let me set a margin on the bottom, so MB of, let's say, 3. Push the paragraph down a bit. And then for the paragraph, let me say give this a class name of let's say text yellow, and a shade of 500 should be that. Let's say font semi-bold, let's say text XL, and then let's say margin bottom of 3 as well. Move that down. This doesn't look that good, so let me remove this. Remove it. And then let me style this link. So for the link, I'm going to give this a class name of background. I want the background color to be yellow with a shade of 500, and then let me say the padding on the top of 2 and padding on the x-axis of 4, so that it's a rectangle like that. And then let me set it to rounded, so that it has rounded borders. And then for the hover effect, I'm going to say for the hover, I want the BG, not the, okay, yeah, the BG yellow. Let me increase it to 800 so that it's darker. Let's see that. Does that really look nice? Let's say 700, and then let me say transition all. So transition all, so that there's a transition effect, as you can see, and this still goes to our sign up page, as you can see. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is add my gallery, right? So okay, now let me first scale this up so that I can just do everything at once. So I'm going to start with about, let's see, I'm going to start with about 768 pixels, so that's about medium. Okay, so for the H1, oops, For the H1, once it's past 768 pixels, then I want it to have a text of, let's say, 8XL. Let's see how that looks. So that looks nice, really. And then I also want to increase the paragraph. So for the paragraph, I'm going to say MD once again. So MD is 768 pixels, and then I want to say, let me increase the text to 2XL. Let's see that. Looking nice, looking nice. Let me increase this margin to margin 5, pushes it down more. And then let's see. For bigger widths, I want this image, I want the height of this image to increase. So let me add a media query in my index CSS, and just below this, I'm going to say at media, I'm going to say min width of 1024 pixels. Then I want the showcase like that, and I also want the showcase and the overlay, because I want to give each one of them the same height. So I want this height to 600 pixels, and just copy that and paste it right there. Let's see if that works. Let's reload this, and it should increase this the height of this so that the image is more visible. If it can reload faster. That's actually still small. Let me try and change this background position to top for the showcase. I'm going to say background position, set it to top, because currently it's set to center, as you can see right there. So let's see that. Let's see, reload, like that. Okay, let me set this to 700, and then we can continue. So 700 pixels, let this reload, and then this will be our showcase class, as you can see. So please reload. There you go. Okay, that looks much better. Now let's begin to deal with our gallery. So for our gallery, I'm going to close my index CSS, and inside my components folder, I'm going to create a new file, not inside my assets, but inside my components. I'm going to create a new file called gallery.js, which will be my gallery component. Okay. For my gallery, I'm going to say RFCE, and then, oh, you know what, I've just realized I don't have my gallery array, because I don't want to import all 12 images. I don't want to import 12 images right here, because that's a bit too much work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create, let me place this full screen. I'm going to create my gallery array, my data array for the gallery. So inside my source folder, let me close this and this. Inside my source folder, I'm going to create a file called data.js, like that. And then inside data.js, I'm going to say, let's say const data equals to that. Let's set that, and then let's export default data, like that. And then I'm going to use id1, and then I'm going to use the path for the image. So the path for the first image, I'm just going to use this. So I'm going to say /, and then it's inside my images folder, like that. And then I'm going to call it antiquities store.jpg, like that. Now the reason why this works is because the images are being served from the public folder. So technically, if you were to actually look at this isn't really outside of the source folder, but it works because the images are being served from the public folder. If the images were being served from inside my source folder, then this will result in an error. Not really an error, but your images would not be displayed on the screen. Now, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 images. So I'm just going to grab this, and then I'm going to say Shift and Alt on Windows, and just copy it down 11 more times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, like that. Change this ID, change this to 2, change this to 3, change this to 4, this to 5, this to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and finally 12. That should be it. And then just rename these images. So this will be bike.jpg, this will be blue car, blue dash car, like that. This will be cassette collection, this will be cassette, like that. this will be old Instagram logo, so old dash Instagram dash logo, like that. This will be old school parking lot, and then this will be old school telly, so old school telly, like that. This is phone, oops, this is the phone, this is the pocket watches, pocket dash watches .jpg, this is the queen, and finally this is TV collection. Okay, so this is TV dash collection, like that. Okay, so once we export that, then we can now import our data into a gallery.js. So I'm going to say import data from, it's inside my, okay, just like that, data. And then because I want to display everything inside this data, then I will need to import use state at the top so that I can set up my state values. So I'm going to say, let me call them items, or let me call them cards, and set cards, like that. And it's going to use state. By default, it's going to use the data that we have, that we've just created, like that. And then I'm going to set up my return. So I want to return a fragment first of all, and then I want to return an h2 saying gallery, like that. And then below that I want to return a section, right? And inside this section I want to map over this cards data. So once we have once the use state has acquired the data that we need to use, then that data is set to our cards variable that we have, and of course this is the function that changes this variable. So I'm going to say the cards dot map, and then I'm going to say for each card, then I want to just destruct, and I'm going to say const id and path. This will be coming from card, not two equal signs. And actually because we only have two items really, so we don't really need to be structure, so I can comment this out, and then I can just set up my return immediately. And I'm going to say return a div, and this div will have a key of card.id, and then inside this div, then I want to have what? I want to have an image, right? An image, and the source for this image will be card.path. As you can see in our data, with our data, in our data we have the path key right there. For the alt, I'm just going to say gallery, like that. And in case you don't want to do this, then you can just uncomment this and then just set these to id and path, like that. But I think there are only two, so I'm just going to do this. Okay, so once I save this, then I can go into my app.js and import my gallery. So just copy that down and just change this to gallery, like that, and then display it in the root of our application, and this is gallery, like that. Let's save that. Let's place this back to the side, and look at that, we have our gallery, all our images imported right there, looking very nice, looking very nice, very nice. Let me close this, close that sidebar as well, and then we can begin to style our gallery. So let me start with the h2, give this a class name of text, let me say text 4xl, let me say text center, add a padding on the top and bottom of 5 py-5, and then let me say font semi bold. Save that, looking very nice, looking very nice. And then inside my section I want to add a padding so that these images move away from the edge. So inside my section, inside my section I want to add a class name on this of px, so padding on the x-axis of, let's say, 5. Move that inwards, like that. And then I want to display them as a grid, so I'm just going to say grid, and then grid columns, grid calls, which is just 1 because it's on a smaller screen. And then I want to add a grid gap of, let's say, grid gap of 5, which is 1.25 rems, like that. And would you look at that, they're now spaced out. As you can see, they're now spaced out. And just to see it more clearly, I think I'm going to add a background image, not a background image, but a background color. So for the H2, let me add a BG of, let's say, yellow, the same shade of yellow that we had on our header, which is currently our theme color, like that. And then I'm just going to copy this and just paste it inside this, and look at that, it changes it. Now the reason why I have it pasted inside here is because look at what happens. It only takes up for the header, but I also want it to take up for the section, so I'm just going to paste it right there, and it goes back, so we can now see the edges of the image where each one ends, like that. Okay, let me see if I can make this a darker shade, let's say 600, like that, and so that I can change this text to white. So text white, like that, and then let me add a padding on the bottom of this. No, there's no need for that. Okay, let me deal with my images. I want the images to have a rounded border and a box shadow. So for the images right there, I'm going to give this a class name of rounded, like that. And then I want to add a box shadow. How do you add a box shadow? Let me remember. Shadow. Let me add a shadow of 2XL, so a very big shadow. Look at that. So they have rounded borders and they have a box shadow. Let me increase this grid gap. Where is it? Let me increase this to 20. Let's see how that looks. Too big. Let's reduce this to 10, like that. So they have a box shadow. Actually, you know what, let me see if I can add this box shadow on hover. Where is it? Here. Let me see if I can add it on hover. Okay, so that, yeah, look at that. So it has a box shadow on hover, and then I can add a transition right there. I can add a transition on the box shadow right there, like that. Okay, there you go. Wait, is there even a transition? Let me see. Transition all. Okay, so there's no difference. I can just transition shadow like that. Okay, so there is our gallery right there, looking very nice. So I want to begin to scale it up on bigger widths. So once again, I'm going to start with for small screens first of all, so about 640 pixels. So I'm going to say for my section, and for 640 pixels, so that's the SM, and then place a colon, and then I'm going to say I want the grid columns, so grid calls to be 2, like that, and we have that. Look at that. But this is not technically what I want. Let me first reduce the grid gap. Let me reduce for the small width, let me reduce the grid gap to, let's say 5. So by half, actually no, let me say 2, even smaller, like that. So this is not technically what I want. So I'm going to go into my index CSS. Where is it? Into my index CSS, and then I'm going to, let me first add a class name on this, and I'm going to give this a class name of gallery on the section, okay, so that I can target it in my CSS. And then I'm just going to say, add a comment saying gallery, and I'm going to say for the gallery, actually, you know what, I want to add a media query, so I'm going to say media min width of 640 pixels. So 640 pixels is where we transition this to 2 grids, like that. Then I want to target the gallery, and I want the images inside that gallery, I want them to have a width of, let's say 300 pixels and a height of 300 pixels, so that they're square. Let's save that. Let's see how this looks. Let's reload that. Faster. So that we have this. Look at that. That's much better. That is much better, and it reduces the strain on the styling. So once we do that, let me remove this gap. Let me say gap 0. Okay, you know what, let me say gap 2. The reason why this gap is greater than this is because we have limited the images to 300 pixels each, so they only take up 300 pixels of the grid that they are in. So that's why this space is bigger than this. I don't know whether you understand what I'm saying. Okay, let's see. We can continue to scale it up. So on as you can see, we don't want this to appear like that, so I can say for medium screens, let me say for large screens, I'm going to say I want the grid columns, so grid calls to be 3. Let's see how that looks. Let's increase it, and let me just center everything. So I'm going to set margin to auto. So I'm going to say where is it? In my index CSS, I'm just going to say margin of auto like that, which should now center everything much better, so that there's equal spacing on each side. Okay, let's do that faster, like that, as you can see. And then continue to add media queries, and I'm going to say for extra large screens, then I want the grid columns to be 4, just like that. And would you look at that, looking very nice, looking very nice. Actually, you know what, I think I can add one more media query here. I can say media mean width of, let's say, what did I have here, large. So this is about 1024 pixels, as you can see. So I can just say for 1024 pixels, then I want the gallery, the images, I want them to have a width of 500 pixels. Actually, let's just do that. Let's see how this looks. Reload that. I don't want so much space between the images, so that's what I'm trying to fix. Let's see. Okay, yeah, that looks much better. That looks much better. Let me increase the size on this of the header for bigger widths. So I can go back to my gallery.js, and let me place this full screen, and I can say for medium width, then I want the text for this to be, what do you have here, 4XL, so I can say 6XL. Yeah, that looks much better. And then for medium width, I'm going to say let me have a padding on the bottom of, let's say, 10, so that it pushes it down even more, like that. Yeah, that looks much better, much better. So let me add a padding on the bottom on the section, so that we can have some margin on the bottom, right? So on the section, let me see, this is px, I don't have any padding on the y, so I'm going to say padding on the bottom, let me have a padding of 10 pixels. That increases the space like that right there. Let me push this back like that. Okay, and then finally we're going to have our footer, oops, like that. So we're going to go back into our components folder and create a new file called footer.js, like that, and then just say RAFCE once again, and then I'm going to just say return a footer, right? And inside the footer, then I want to have the logo first of all, so I need to import the logo. So I just say import logo from assets slash, is it logo 192.png, I think so. And then I'm just going to return a div, and then inside the div I'm going to place my logo like that, and then for the alt I'm just going to say Grater logo, and then let me return, we need to add React icons, so I need to import my icons. So I'm going to say import FA Facebook, FA Twitter, FA Instagram, FA YouTube, and FA Pinterest, like that. They're all coming from React icons, so React icons slash FA. The reason why I've combined all of them is because they're all coming from the Font Awesome library, so I don't have to separate them. And then inside the footer, now below this, I'm going to say return a UL, and the UL should have how many LIs? There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. And then just render these icons. You know what I wanted? I wanted this to be inside this, so just move it up. You can move it up by just, on Windows you can just press Alt and then the arrow directional keys that you want. Okay, so for this first one I'm going to return FA Facebook. For the second one I'm going to return FA Twitter. Twitter doesn't have 2 eyes. And then for the third one I'm going to say FA Instagram. The fourth I'm going to say FA YouTube, like that. And then for the final one I'm going to say FA Pinterest, like that, looking very nice. Okay, and then what do I want to do next? Outside this div, I want to create another div, not another div, but a UL, and then two LIs, which should have let me say, they should have the link component that is coming from React Router DOM. So I need to import the link, so I'm just going to say import link from React Router DOM, move it up. And the reason why I want to have these links is because I want to also link my sign up page and the login page on the footer. So this, the two prop for this will go to the login, and it will just say login or login, and then the two prop for this will go to my sign up page, so slash sign dash up, like that, and then just call it sign up. And then finally, what are we missing? I'll remember it along the way, so there's no problem. Now to render our footer, we need to import it in our app.js once again. So I'm just going to grab this, copy that, and paste it on the bottom, and just say footer, like that, and then render it below this. Just call that the footer. Actually no, that's not what I wanted. The header and the footer should appear on every page that we have on our website. So I'm just going to grab this footer and I'm going to place it outside of our roots, just like the header. So I'm just going to place it right there, looking very nice. Now one thing I forgot actually that I should have done is that I want to have this switch that we imported. I want it to surround my roots. So let me do that, switch, like that. The reason why I have the switch is because the switch will always match the first path that matches, and it will display that component. So in case you don't have this, then you can have the switch. I think even without this, the switch will still work and the roots will still work the same way. Okay, so let me save that, and let's see if that displays anything for the footer. It's not displaying anything. Oh, there you go. Okay, so let's begin to style it once again. For the footer, I'm going to give this a class name. Let's give it a class name of, add a padding on the top, so on the top and bottom, so py of 20 and px of 5, so padding on the x of 5. Let me give it a bg of black. Let's see if black will match. And then let me change the text to white. And then what else do we need? I want this to display flex. I want the items, actually I don't want the item center because I don't want some of them to be higher than others. And I'm just going to say justify between, like that, so that they go end to end. Let me save that. Let's see how that looks. It looks like that, looking very nice. So for the logo, I'm going to go inside the logo, give this a class name. Inside the image, give this a class name of width, let's say 56. Let's see how that looks. Too big, let's say with 40. No. Let's say with I want this to be even smaller, so with 20 or with 16. I had 16 on the top, right? Yeah, I think I had 16 pixels on the top, so that works. And then for this UL, I want the class name for this to be flex. So this is the UL with our icons right there. Let me add a margin top of, let's say 20, so push it away from the image. Let's save that, and would you look at that, that's how it looks. And then for each of these LIs, I want to have a margin on the right. So class name for the first LI, I'm going to give this a margin right of 5. Let's see how it looks. Spaces it out a bit, so I'm just going to grab this. Or I can show you another trick that you can use. On Windows, you can select multiple cursors by clicking where you want to start off, and then just pressing down Alt, and then click the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one. So when you type, it types on all the lines that you've selected, and then you can give this a class name. Class name of mr-5. That's if you don't want to copy paste like that. So let me save that. and that's how it looks. And then once again, I want to add the same class on each of my icons, right? I want to increase the font size, so I can go to Facebook and click right there and press down Alt, and you can see I'm adding more cursors, and I can give this a class name. How do I keep doing that? Class name of text-xl. Let's see how that looks. Let's say 2xl. Let's say 3xl. Bigger like that. Okay. And then I can add a hover effect. So for the hover, I can say text. Let's change it to text yellow, and let's give it a yellow shade of 600. So if I were to hover over this like that, as you can see, looking very nice. And then let me go back right there and add a transition. So transition all, and then cursor pointer. Yeah, that's what I was forgetting, cursor pointer, like that. Would you look at that? Look at that, looking very, very, very nice. So let's deal with this. I want this to display flex as well, so I can go right there. I can go to this UL and give this a class name of flex, and then just separate out these two LIs. So do the same thing on the cursors. So class name, I'm going to give this margin right of 5, like that. Would you look at that? And then let me add a hover effect as well. So for the hover, I'm going to change the text color. So I'm going to say text yellow 600, just like our icons right there, and looking very nice, And then let's say transition all. Okay, so transition dash all, like that. Okay, looking very nice, very, very nice. I think that will be it for our footer. Even on bigger widths, the footer still looks nice as it is. So one thing that I want to do though is limit my headers, the text. I don't want them to go all the way to the end, right? So I can do that, and I can say for, let me begin at 2XL screens. So 2XL, according to the media queries by Tailwind CSS, that's about 1500 pixels or something of the sort. So I want to go into my header components, so into my header JS like that, and I'm going to say for 2XL, let me just see what width this is. Does it show? That's okay. I can have a padding X of, let's say let me see what the options are that it gives me, so that I can actually see how much padding I'm adding. This is 4 rem. 1 rem is about 16 pixels. So 4 rems will be what? Okay. 20. Let's say, let me try 28 first. Let's see how that looks. And it doesn't reload. Is it not reloading? Oh, okay, there you go. I wasn't on a 2XL screen. So 2XL, I have much more padding, just as I want, like that. And then I'm also going to limit the images. So I'm just going to grab this. Let me see what this width starts from. So 1536 pixels, that's when 2XL starts. So I'm going to go into my gallery, and inside this section, I'm going to say for the 2XL, I want the padding on the x-axis of 28, so it pushes it inwards, as you can see. And then for the footer as well, so for my footer JS, I'm just going to go right there, paste it right there, and it pushes it inwards like that. I think this looks much more convenient. It looks much more convenient, and as you can see, our routing works. This goes to our sign up page, this goes back to our login page, and then maybe I should have added our home button right there as well. Yeah, I think I should have added a home button there as well. Let me first style these links a bit more so that they are more visible and not just black. And I'm going to say for this, then I want to add a class name on this. So class name of text, let's see how white looks. No, let's say text yellow and 800, dark yellow. That looks fine. So I can grab this and I can paste it right there, change that up, and then let me add a back to home button right there below this, the small actually. So I'm going to go into my login page, close this, go into my login page. I want the login and I want the sign up page as well, so I can close the gallery, the header, the footer, and the index CSS. Okay, below this small, I want to add another small, right? Another small element, and I'm going to say this is actually, is it really a small? Should I really add a small? Let me add a link instead. Oops. Link this to home page. Link this to the home page like that, / and I say back to home, and then I can give this a class name. Actually, I can style it almost the same as this. Maybe I can give this a class name of shadow small, and then give it a padding on the y of 2 and padding on the x of 4, and then I can say text white, and then I can say for the background I want a background of yellow -600. Once again, let's see how that looks. We have that, but I don't want this. Let me add a margin. I can say margin top of, let's say 5. Let's see that. So separate it out a bit, and then I want it to display as an inline block, so I'm just going to say inline dash block, like oops, let me place this to the side. Doesn't it display as an inline block? Let's say, let me see the options that I have for block. There are only 2: inline block. And what if I say inline? No. And block, let's say text center, back to home, and then actually I think that looks fine really. Let me add a class of rounded on it, rounded, so that it has rounded borders, and then let's add the hover effect. So for the hover, I just want to turn the BG yellow to, let's say 900, so very dark, like that. And then I can add a transition, so transition dash all, like that. Looking very nice. So this is back to home, and this is the login page. And then I can say, let me add even more margin on this so that this moves away and it doesn't distract from that. So I'm going to say, where is it, margin, let me say 20, push it down even more, and then I can just copy this. I can copy this and just paste it on my sign up. So below my small, paste it right there, like that. So if I go to the sign up page, and we have that looking very nice. So this goes back home, this goes to the login and the sign up, and we have that. So I think that will be it really. That will be it, and you can see our footer appears on every page as well as our header, looking very, very nice. So I think that will be it. You can follow me on my socials on YouTube. Remember to hit that subscribe button, leave a like and comment on anything you'd want me to do in the future. And you can follow me on Twitter at TSB Sankara and on GitHub at Sank Thomas. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video.